Hello again, good internet people. Welcome back to the Best Millennial Kids Show Bracket Competition. This is our Disney region. Parameters are pretty straightforward for this one. Every show is a Disney Channel original in some capacity. However, our one exception is the one seed Boy Meets World. Now, that show first aired on ABC, but was aired later on Disney Channel from 2000 to 2007. Obviously, that's a big time frame for millennials to watch the reruns of the show, and that's why we included it here. Now, if you want to see our full parameters of this tournament, please watch the beginning of our Nickelodeon region video. The link to that video is in the description below. Enough jibber jabber, let's get into those brackets.
So starting with the Disney bracket, a very strong one seed again with Boy Meets World against the number 16 Sunny with a Chance. Sunny with a Chance was kind of a flash in the pan for me. I know that I saw a couple episodes of it, but Boy Meets World, again, one of the most memeable shows that I can remember in recent memory. So for me, Boy Meets World, I'll get more into this later on when I feel like it needs to have more of a fight. But Boy Meets World for me is easy take here.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I think for one, I actually never saw Sunny with a Chance. It's one of the few shows on any of the four regions that I had never seen, even at least at one episode. So I think just speed it up. I mean, Boy Meets World takes this one for me.
So I had to pull a Ron Jaworski here and watch 15 hours of film to kind of get myself up to speed on some of these shows, because honestly, going into the Disney bracket and most of the other bracket, a lot of the shows actually I hadn't seen. Maybe not a lot, but some of the shows. I think I've seen a good majority of them, but some of the shows I've not seen. And Disney's probably my weakest in terms of just what I watched as a kid.
Oh yeah, the next bracket is is going to be your strongest.
Probably more that's more my top 10. But you know, Disney, I had to just watch a few episodes here and there, and I did not get to Sunny with a Chance. But I will say I have watched plenty of Boy Meets World, and sorry, Sunny with a Chance, you are Sunny with no chance at advancing in this tournament. So I got to hand it to Boy Meets World. Sunny with a Chance, again, like you said, Kevin, flash in the pan. I mean, I barely remember it being on. I saw an ad for it once. That's all I can really say.
Yeah,
it's okay. No need to dwell on an easy number one seed over 16 seed, man. It's it's frequent rollover.
Now, quick sidebar, Will, because you don't know this. I actually do have a little soundboard below me, and so when you just said you're Sunny with no chance, I did play the Ha Got Him sound.
Okay. Oh, nice.
So I do have sound emotes. I was gonna talk to you about it after the show, but I figured I would go ahead and use it. So Boy Meets World beats Sunny with no chance. I like that. And we will move on to the number 2 seed, Kim Possible, one of my favorite shows of all time. I'm not gonna lie. Versus the 15 Mighty Ducks, the animated series, which is also a phenomenal show and something I felt like we had to put into this bracket. Unfortunately for Mighty Ducks, the animated series, it is going against an absolute juggernaut in Kim Possible. For me, Kim Possible, no question. Again, a super memeable show.
Yeah, I mean, so fun fact on Mighty Ducks, which I was a huge fan of. When the movies came out, the main character of Mighty Ducks is voiced by Ian Ziering. If you've heard that name before and you've seen any of the Sharknadoes, that is the main character.
No way.
And I recognize the voice, but I unfortunately I'm going Kim Possible because it's way too much of a stretch. It's a little bit of a stretch. So yeah, but Ian Ziering, the Sharknado guy.
I think the only thing I'll say here is, what do people remember more? The Mighty Ducks movies or the Mighty Ducks animated series?
The movies.
Is it even a question?
Right.
It's the movies. So, yeah. That's all I need to say here. Kim Possible, hands down. Just, even though my hands are up, hands down. Moves on.
Now, one that I know we all know a lot of, and Mac is shit for saying we know a lot of, the number 3 seed Lizzie McGuire versus number 14 Phil the Future. Will, I'll let you take the lead on this one. Why don't you start us off?
Okay, so like I said, I had to pull my Ron Jaworski and watch 15 hours of film a day, and yeah, these were two shows I really didn't watch a lot. Lizzie McGuire for obvious reasons when I was a kid. Oh my God, it's a girl show. I wouldn't touch that. I did watch some Phil of the Future today. I gotta say, man, that is one of the most annoying theme songs I've ever heard to any
really
show ever.
I have the same note.
Immediate turn off. Immediate turn off for me. I'm like, wow, that's enough for me to turn off the show. I did sit through one episode. They talk really fast. It's kind of hard to follow. And then it was just like typical Disney stuff, high school drama. Just, I mean, like, how many of those shows are there out there? That's my problem with Disney. It seems like a lot of these shows are really repetitive, just as like, it's high school drama. It's something like that, so that was my issue there. Lizzie McGuire, I guess at least there was the creativity of the animated character, but I don't really even know much about that. Do I have to abstain from this?
No.
Okay, I won't. Lizzie McGuire.
Kind of to piggyback off of that, as scary as it is, going 3 for 3, agreeing with Will all in a row. I think Phil of the Future, it was one of those shows that just kind of struggled. It had a little bit of a cult following, but then you look at Lizzie McGuire's cult following. I think it was a really unique show in the fact that they had real life people, and then they took her alter ego and made it a cartoon, like a drawing. So it was a really interesting mix in a show that kind of puts it over the top on a good portion of these shows in this bracket. As I could see it going decently far. But yeah, in this one, you can't really pick Phil over Lizzie here. I'm gonna go Lizzie McGuire.
With you as is chat. Lizzie McGuire, especially the Lizzie McGuire movie, has really got me. I remember some of the music from that show in the movie, so I would go with Lizzie McGuire, and chat agrees as well. So moving on to the 4-seeded That's So Raven versus the number 13-seeded Buzz Lightyear Star Command. I like That's So Raven. I think it was kind of a cool show for like a couple episodes, and then I got kind of tired of it. Also, Buzz Lightyear is my second favorite Disney character ever. So for me, Buzz Lightyear Star Command, it was such a fun show, especially for me who I loved cartoons as a kid, and obviously pairing that with Buzz Lightyear Star Command, I loved it. I'm getting Buzz Lightyear as my the first upset for me in this bracket.
Yeah, no, I definitely looked at this one as a potential upset going into it. I watched a few Buzz Lightyear episodes leading into today. I watched a few as a kid, but yeah, man, it never took off like the movies, like the Toy Story movies. Whereas That's So Raven, even if let's say you didn't watch it, for anybody out in chat or between the three of us, you knew about it, right? You knew who Raven Simone was. You knew who those characters were. And again, they kind of had a unique show that you really didn't see a lot of people doing, especially at that time, where she had the for a kids show. Yeah, the premonitions is kind of wild. I didn't watch a ton of either of these. But I think just creativity-wise, I've got to go That's So Raven over Buzz Lightyear. I think they tried to take Toy Story and then say, oh, let's make it animated, and it didn't really take off.
Yeah, I got to agree 100% with Garrett here. Again, just in the same vein as like the Mighty Ducks series, like what do people remember Buzz Lightyear for? Do they remember Buzz Lightyear for Buzz Lightyear, whatever that show on Disney is, or Buzz Lightyear from the Toy Story movies? I mean, come on, people. Like, Disney has done that so many times. There was an Emperor's New Groove show. There was a Lilo and Stitch show. But, like, we all know those characters from the movies. It was all just to get some money. I don't know, was that money?
Hey, you know what? Disney worked, man. Whatever they did worked because they are the world.
Fun fact about Buzz Lightyear Star Command is inside of the movies, they talked about the show. I don't know if you know that. Like the dinosaur, Rex, I think, when he would talk why he was so excited about Buzz Lightyear is because of the show really it was a comic book, but also the TV show that the Buzz Lightyear character was involved in was Buzz Lightyear Star Command, and then obviously the comic books are the same thing at Buzz Lightyear Star Command inside of the movie. So
Toyception, dude.
Yeah.
So that's why it was created. It was basically promoted in the movie, and they said, "Oh, people understand what's going on. Let's make it into an actual show."
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Very
saying.
cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
At that young
Sadly,
age,
Buzz Lightyear does not move on, but it's okay.
Sorry, yeah. At that young age, I would not have gotten that or understood that or anything like that. And yeah, that's so Raven.
It's not important. I just was making this statement like that's where it came from. That's the origin story of the actual TV show.
Appreciate it. That's So Raven was fairly creative. I liked it when I turned it on. You know, I didn't watch a lot of it, but I liked it. Fun fact about That's So Raven, though, rapper Hopsin has a minor role in that show. If you guys know, the underground rapper Hopsin kind of got his start there. You would not believe that he was on Disney Channel at one point, but
I
he was.
don't even know who that is, so that's okay. Moving on. Moving on to the number 5
And
seed.
it's gone.
The number 5 seeded Recess on the 12 seeded Even Stevens. Even Stevens was a very, very quirky show. It was a little out there, and for me, it was a little too out there. I loved Recess. I think it was an absolute classic. I had really a hard time seeding Recess too. It bounced. I think we reseeded it 4 or 5 times and landed in the 5 seed. It went up, down, and I think we kind of settled in on the 5 seed. So for me, like I said, Recess, I think it's just an absolute classic. It's the epitome of, you know, grade school, just fun as kids, and that for me gets the nod.
Yeah, man, this was definitely for me the hardest. Again, I mean, a classic 5-12 matchup. This was the hardest for me. I loved Even Stevens. Shia LaBeouf is one of my favorite, dude. He's one of my favorite. Chris and I see a little something in chat. Chrissy Carlson Romano, man, you see her name a couple times in Disney. They kept her rolling, and you know, it was a good show. But Recess, man, it was just, it was fantastic, man. All the characters, the levels, you know, I'll get it more into it. I see it winning this round, and I can spew more off. I have a lot of knowledge. I remember it very well. I watched the series a few times through, and the movie. As well. They had a few movies, but the one main movie, man, for Recess, it's a tough battle here, but Recess is definitely a dark horse going forward here. I'm going Recess.
I'm surprised Recess wasn't seated higher, in all honesty. I remember going to that movie as a kid. It was a birthday party of mine. We went and saw the Recess movie. I mean, there were several of them, but it was the one where they take away recess. But absolutely, with Recess, there's so many great like pop culture references, and it's so well written and clever. I mean, the show is just. I mean, every episode is really interesting. It's so relatable because of, as a kid at the time, obviously you go and you have Recess. You know, that's the relatability. But adults could get something out of it. Totally. God, the one episode I really liked was the playoff of the 2001: A Space Odyssey when, you know, like it's Sal that's taking over, Recess, not Hal, you know, like, so this is like, they have pop culture references like that. I always really like that. And to be honest, with Even Stevens, I always got that confused with Phil of the Future. I like didn't even know the difference between the two shows. I don't know why. That was just me. Easy win here, Recess. Easy.
Now,
no
chat
question.
voted for Even Stevens. Doesn't matter. It's a 3-1 there, but Recess moves on.
And like I said, I think Even Stevens was a little low in their seeding, but unfortunately they ran into a very, very solid 5 seed, and that's why they did move on here.
So on to the 6-seeded Proud Family and the 11-seeded Hannah Montana. So, Will, I will let you start this one because I know you fought to move Proud Family up in the seeding. I will let you take the lead here.
Honestly, this matchup really isn't about the Proud Family as much as it is about Hannah Montana to me. Now, here's the thing. Proud Family I did not really watch as a kid. I just watched about 3 episodes before this podcast started. And boy, I really loved what I saw there. I mean, a lot of good comedic timing, and I know obviously that's had a big impact on the Black community. It's kind of gotten a resurgence in following recently, because I know that Disney Plus came out and Proud Family's on Disney Plus as well. So I really liked what I saw. Now, Hannah Montana, on the other hand, I think is actually the absolute worst show in this entire competition. Hands down. The worst. The worst. The actual worst. Because in that show, there is lying. There are all sorts of things that not only just want to make my head explode, but it's just her character is so manipulative. And maybe like you could come back and say, "Oh, so that's the point." Is that she's a teenage girl. But here's the thing: like, she fat shames people on that show. She calls that one dude Dandruff Danny all the time. Like, she like insults people. It's horrible. It's a horrible example for kids. And like, honestly, it just infuriated me just how awful of a person she was during that show. And that's not a knock, by the way, on like Miley Cyrus the person or Miley Cyrus's music. Like, I really don't have any opinion on any of that stuff. Like, she's fine. I don't really care. Like, but just that show would piss me off because of that character and like everything it stands for. It's just go back and watch that show and don't tell me if you see the things that I saw. I mean, I just saw some of the absolute most like manipulative character, I guess. I don't know. What I'm trying to say here, awful show, terrible example for kids. She often gets away with stuff too. It's just like, it's like your typical spoiled brat. Like, would anybody root for this character? Because I was rooting against her the entire time I was watching it. So that's my take. Proud Family moves on. No questions asked here. Hannah Montana, I mean, worst show in this competition. Sorry.
Go ahead, Gary.
I watched a few episodes of each of these as a kid. I did not rewatch them just because I somewhat remember sort of what went on. To sort of piggyback again, sort of off of Will, which is sort of scary. What the Proud Family did as an all animated and all Black community show, which was really fantastic, really well done. I think that when you're comparing, this is a good matchup here, actually. Very different teams, if you will, right? 11-6 matchup. Hannah Montana, I think here's where it's sort of weird, is it did a lot for a lot of little girls, showing that you can have a normal life and be this sensation. I think that what throws it over the edge a little bit for me, I mean ever so slightly, is Disney found their pop star again. They really, for a long time, did not have their superstar, and they said, "This girl, this is it. She's going to be good, and she's going to be a ticket to stardom." And they sort of rolled with it. In terms of the show, I think it's really, really close. But I think I'm going to give the very, very slight edge to Hannah Montana. I think with that upset, it just ever so slight, but nonetheless getting the win.
So when I was putting this bracket together, I think the Proud Family started at like 13 or 14, and we talked about moving it down. And I do agree that it did a lot, for an all Black cartoon, and it had meaning in that sense. But when it boils down to the show versus the show, not necessarily, what it was representing and things like that, which I know in some cases we've talked about what it represents and things like that. I watched Hannah Montana with my sister. I watched Hannah Montana by myself. Oh
my God. You are not doing this right now, Kevin. You are. Okay, go ahead.
I found Miley Cyrus in some cases still do very attractive. So as a kid,
okay,
that was for me. And like we talked about last week, ultimately it boils down to what the show brings up, the nostalgia it brings up to me. So for me, it goes to Hannah Montana. And I think Garrett's points actually made it even more so for me in the sense that it did launch her career. It did launch the stardom that is Miley Cyrus, and even though it did create a craziness, it did also give us Wrecking Ball.
It did give us Wrecking Ball.
Wait, hold on. The show did not give us Wrecking Ball.
The show gave us Miley Cyrus, which by the associated property gave us Wrecking Ball.
I won't argue that. But like Sunny with the Chance, that was what's her name? I forget her name off the top of my head.
Demi Lovato?
Yeah, Demi Lovato. I mean, and she was involved with Camp Rock and all that. So
she is not Wrecking Ball.
Everybody, okay, but obviously everybody gets this on Disney Channel, but at separate points in the show, she calls people fat and dumb and makes fun of people's dandruff and fat shames people. It's
right, which is way more of a thing now.
Horrible.
But back in the day, it should have been more, but it was not. And
but like just think about, like, if you're a kid watching that show and you see this girl doing this, oh yeah, it's okay to do it. I mean, that probably left an impression on so many young guys and gals. I don't know. There was just something that really turned me off about that show. And I think it was just that. Just the amount she got away with. I did not find the show that way at that time. I saw right through it the entire time. I don't know what maybe I'm just a better judge of character than both of you. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Maybe I won't go that far.
You just don't like Wrecking Ball.
No, I do. I don't have anything against Miley Cyrus and her music. I mean, I can't say I really like her music. Sure, Party in the USA is a classic at any wedding, bar mitzvah, what have you. But like, I was just really off-put by how that character was written and just how it really fed into, I'm a spoiled teenager and I can get away with what I want. And sometimes in the episodes, go back and watch them, she does. She just gets away with stuff like that. She never gets called out, it seems like. She makes fun of her friends all the time to their faces. I don't know. I mean, it's one thing if she does that and she learns something from it, but I never felt that she did. She never grew as a character, and I am all about character development. Character development is above anything else to me that matters in a show. And she did not develop at all. She remained static, and that's all I have to say.
I think you need to get away. We need to find a way for you to get chat.
So Scotty agrees with Will.
Thank you.
Brings it 2-2.
Okay.
So then,
I got.
Did we not have a tiebreaker?
So we did not have a tiebreak. We did not have a cupcake tiebreaker. However,
why?
I did get a meat shield tiebreaker. And Proud Family moves on.
I just out of curiosity, who was the?
Actually,
there we go. Wait, we just got
one.
All right, there we go.
Okay, so moving on to the 7-seeded
Proud Family, nice.
7-seeded Phineas and Ferb, and the 10-seeded Gargoyles. I will go last on this one as well. So whoever wants to, Garrett, you take the lead on this one.
Yeah. No. So I didn't watch a ton of Gargoyles. I did watch some Phineas and Ferb growing up. It was a little bit, but I guess I was a little bit older, so I kind of stopped watching it. But Gargoyles, unfortunately for me, I did go back and watch it because I forgot a lot about the show. And man, every Gargoyle character sounds the exact same. I was like, wait a second, was it really, how could I tell the difference? Obviously you could see the character that's speaking, but man, when I went back and looked at an episode, I was like, wow, it's the same voice. It is very weird.
It's very dark.
It was a little odd from what I remember. Man, it was a tough show. I think, I don't know where the thought process of where it was going. So, just that being said, I think the 7-seed Phineas and Ferb, it had a nice following. It did have an interesting, a little bit different of drawing for me, which is kind of cool. Being, I have a little bit of art background, so just the kind of the funny things that they would do. The heads were 3, 4, 5 times the size of the neck, and they would sort of play off the comedy there. So I'm gonna give my vote to Phineas and Ferb here.
Well,
So I didn't really watch these two shows growing up either. I knew that they both had cult followings. I knew people obviously that watched both and just swear by both of them. So honestly, I'm going to have to abstain here. I did watch a little bit of Phineas and Ferb, and I liked what I saw, but it wasn't enough to just grab my attention, and I watch it consistently. And Gargoyles, to be honest with you, I have not seen one episode. I have to abstain. I don't know enough about the shows.
all right. So an abstention, just for anyone who was not aware, it abstains the majority. So basically, between me, Garrett, and then chat, Will's vote would go towards the majority to essentially push it over the edge.
Yeah.
Regardless, so Gargoyles for me was one that I put on this bracket and made sure that made it onto this bracket. I think in its seeding, I think it kind of got lost in how high it got seeded, which is my own issue. You're welcome, everyone. But I really liked Gargoyles. It was one of those very few dark shows that I could actually watch as a kid. I'm not a big scary person. I'm not a very
we know from the
dark
last
person.
episode.
Yes.
No courage.
So this was a very a dark show that I could actually watch. However, I think that Phineas and Ferb is, again, one of those shows that was a little bit more unique, where it's these two boys that are doing things that are wildly absurd, boy geniuses. And, while we got, the Dexter's Lab of the Cartoon Network, where there's a boy genius doing all kinds of crazy shit, Phineas and Ferb was kind of a fun approach to that, whereas Dexter's Lab was kind of a more, it's still funny, but more of a kind of that dark approach that Cartoon Network brought to a lot of the shows back then. So I give my vote to Phineas and Ferb. Chat gives their vote to Phineas and Ferb. Will abstain, so he gets his vote to Phineas and Ferb. So Phineas and Ferb, clean sweep on Gargoyles. I'm sad, but I didn't think Gargoyles would make it past the first round, but I did feel like it was at least worth the mention to make it onto this bracket. Now,
I agree.
I agree. Also want to mention that we have yet to have an upset in the bracket. Just so
this
we're
bracket
clear.
Yes.
No, we have no upsets in this bracket right now.
This bracket, yeah.
I've voted a few, but yeah,
yes,
it's interesting.
So, for the final matchup of the first round here, we have the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody versus the 8-seed Wizards of Waverly Place. Now, in all the brackets that we did pre-research, somehow to me, Wizards of Waverly Place was seated higher than Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, which I think is very wrong. I think the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, I think while the Wizards of Waverly Place gave us Selena Gomez, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody is something like last week I talked about, I made time to watch this show. There is an episode that sticks in my head, specifically the Christmas episode, where the janitor basically he sings about burning chairs, and it's hilarious. I think that Zack and Cody, the characters are very well written. Ashley Tisdale, also a big fan of her. I think all of the characters were brought their own kind of sense of comedic relief. And while the Wizards of Waverly Place was kind of a fun show, I for me, like, just the wildness of the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody that eventually led to the Sweet Life on Deck, which I also loved as a kid, pushed this show over the edge for me against Wizards of Waverly Place.
Yeah, no, I think I think this is one where they were the correct seedings. Maybe you could flip them.
Yeah,
I think
right.
I think if you flip them, but essentially, I think in the first round they're facing off against each other.
Right.
I watched actually both of these shows. I watched every episode of these shows. I think yes, I did. It was they were both very interesting shows. I think though that sort of going off of more of that character development, I think the character variety, the widespread characters, the amount, I think leans towards Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. They were successful at giving everybody their own personality while bringing the same comedy, whereas Wizards, it they were such varying characters. I think they grew maybe a little bit more in Wizards, but I think as the main characters grew in Wizards. But I think Sweet Life, the majority, their whole cast was just fantastic. You laughed at everybody and you knew everybody's characters, whereas Wizards, I think, focused more on the main,
storyline.
4 people, 3 people. Whereas as Sweet Life, they would showcase people, their whole cast at times. So I'm going to give my vote to Sweet Life of Zach and Cody here.
I think both of these shows were decent. I wouldn't say I was a super fan of either one, but I watched a good amount when it was on. The one thing with Wizards that I didn't like was it's just another show about magic. I mean, how many shows do we have about magic? Like it just seemed like I'm like, okay, here's another one. All right, like Harry Potter, anybody? I don't know.
You absolutely cannot compare those.
Oh,
you are wrong.
It's just like,
That's
oh
a
my god,
reach,
it's magic. There's a million and one shows that deal with magic. And Wizards wasn't a bad show. I thought there were some funny episodes and funny moments here and there. Sweet Life, I'm a character person, and I didn't like I guess I didn't like the plot to the show that much. Like, I wasn't a fan, like, oh, look, 2 spoiled kids living in a hotel. To me, it was just like, oh, man, spoiled rich kids. Another story about spoiled rich kids on Disney. How many of these have we seen? But the characters were well written, and they were entertaining. And I like the hotel manager dude. Forget his name. I thought he was Mosby. Yeah, he was a good character. The janitor was a good character. I just think on character alone, Sweet Life, I think, gets the edge here.
Chat agrees. Sweet Life moves on at first. Small upset.
Small.
All right, so completing the first round. The next round consists of Boy Meets World versus Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, Recess versus That's So Raven, Lizzie McGuire versus The Proud Family, and Phineas and Ferb versus Kim Possible.